subscribe to this theory called the 10-80-10 theory. And maybe you've heard of it. I didn't make it up. I just stole it. But what it means is that 10% of people are really good, super good, would never steal or lie or cheat or would never do anything wrong. They're just super, super good. And the other 10% of the population are bad, really bad. Would steal the pennies off your dead grandma's eyes in the coffin. And then the other 80%, it just depends. And that's what most of the people, and the stuff that you guys are working on, you're dealing with the 80% most of the time. I mean, the hardcore bad guys, they're not coming to work for you. They're not coming to work in your organization. But the 80% are there. And the 10% are probably up on a mountain someplace, you know, doing a lotus position. So, and I mentioned this a little earlier, what are the characteristics of corrupt behavior, of fraudsters? What are the, and all I'm telling you here is, this is what I see. Because we're knocking these cases out every day, just like you. And we run into all manner of things. But the number one thing that everybody seems to be able to do, at least in my experience, is rationalizing their illegal behavior. And they come up with some really cool explanations for why they did the bad thing, you know. It's just remarkable. Their minds are so active. And things like, and even though they have basic stuff like, well, the company owes me. I work really hard. So shouldn't I be able to do this? Or I didn't get a bonus. That's a big one. Or the boss is doing it. And a lot of this stuff is learned behavior. When the medium guy, the mid-level guys see the bosses out there buying things and putting stuff on the company tab, well, that's a learned behavior. What do you think they're going to do? And it comes up all the time. Corruption and co-opting people is another way that fraud and corruption takes place. By what is it? Al Capone said you can get more with a kind word and a gun than just a kind word. Same thing. Sometimes people are required to make ethical choices that are not as easy as one might think. The choice between being loyal to someone or to your employer or telling the truth. And honestly, how do you expect people to be loyal to their employer if they perceive that their employer doesn't really care about them? If they perceive that they're going to get canned next week or downsized? Maybe it's every man for himself at that point. But people can be co-opted. The problem with nice people and honest people is honest people think that everyone is honest. Did you ever have bad guys know that everybody, you know, think that everybody's dishonest. Did you ever have a boss who counted the pencils and the papers and all that? He was stealing, for sure. Because he thought everybody was a crook. But people can be co-opted. People can be manipulated into doing things. It's always a pleasure for me to speak to groups of like-minded individuals. And I spend a lot of time, as I'm sure you do, preaching to guys that securities dealers and bankers and all these people who, they don't want to hear about this because they're too busy trying to make money and do the things that they do. It's nice to get in a place and feel the heat coming off a group of people who are, you know, going in the same direction. I'm going to close off today with a quote. And this quote is one I like a lot. It's the motto of the United States Air Force Academy. And it's a good thing to bang up on the wall in your office or at the front door. We will not lie, steal, or cheat, nor tolerate among us anyone who does.